Jesus and Mary will always be my friends. I choose to die, but not sin. Saint Dominic Savio, what an inspiring saint he was. He was just 14 years old, one among us, in flesh and in blood. But look at the life he has lived, an exemplary one. Saint Dominic Savio was born in northern Italy. He was the second out of 11 children born to Charles and Bridget Savio. They were poor, hardworking, and pious people. Saint Dominic Savio's father, Charles, was a blacksmith. And it is said, whatever we know about Dominic Savio is all because of the biography written by Saint John Bosco, whom we popularly know as Don Bosco, the founder of Salesian order. Saint Dominic Savio was a bright student, and he enjoyed school as well as play. He possessed some leadership qualities, and he was responsible for the works that he did, and he possessed a sense of duty. As his days for the First Holy Communion and the confirmation were drawing near, he made 4 resolutions that stand outstanding and quite mature for a boy of 7 years old. He made 4 resolutions. First, he said, I will go to confession and communion as often as possible, as and how my confessor allows me. And the second, I will sanctify Sundays and holy days as special days. And the third one is Jesus and Mary will always be my friends. And the fourth, I choose to die but not sin. The 4 great resolutions he makes. And on one sermon that was delivered by Saint Don Bosco, in his oratory, Dominic was inspired when he heard, everybody is called to be a saint. It is easy for everyone to be a saint. And after hearing this, it struck him so seriously that he started thinking about this. He started thinking, what would it be like to be a saint? After a few days, he started living his pious days and he started growing more aware of the presence of God. Saint Dominic Savio started experiencing God more and more closer. He was soon called a person of prayer. One day it so happened, and Dominic Savio evidently notices this in Dominic. Don Bosco evidently notices this in Dominic. He says one night, Dominic Savio rushes to Don Bosco's room and asks him, hurry up, we need to leave, we need to go. And Don Bosco asks, why, where? It is middle of the night, where do we have to go now? Dominic says, hurry up, please. And Don Bosco follows him because of Dominic's insistence. And so as he follows, he finds out Dominic is making him cross one street, second street, third street, and finally, after crossing the fourth street, they stop at they stop in front of a house, and Dominic runs to the third floor, and Don Bosco is following him. As soon as Dominic stops in front of a door, they knock at the door, and Don Bosco is with him. A woman cries out, thank God you are here. My husband is my husband is breathing his last breath. He has been away from the church and he wants a good Catholic death. Don Bosco prays for him, gives him the sacrament of confession and communion, and after a few moments the man passes away. Days passed by. Don Bosco asked Dominic, how did you know that the man was sick? And the face of Dominic gets clouded with distress, and tears start falling from his eyes. Don Bosco does not insist, but then he thought for himself, this man can said to be a person absorbed in God. In pursuit of his love towards God and his spiritual practices, Dominic Savio forgets to take care about his health, and his health keeps deteriorating, and he starts falling sick again and again. Although Don Bosco tries to get doctors, some days he feels better, some days he feels worst. And looking at all of these episodes, Don Bosco says, Dominic, it is good for you to be at home with your parents so that they can take good care of you. Dominic Savio says, Don Bosco, I prefer I die here at the oratory than at home. But then later, Dominic, while he leaves to his home he dies, he before he leaves to his home, he says, "Since you don't want this body of mine, I'll have to take it back. It would have burdened you only a few days and would soon be over, but God's will be done. Goodbye until we meet in heaven." These were the words of Dominic Savio. As he reaches home for a few days, at the first few days, he finds himself fine, getting healthy, but inward he was knowing that he is not going to live any longer. And he starts preparing himself for a happy death. One day he calls for a priest, makes a good confession, and receives the communion. And receives the priest gives him the papal blessings, and which consoles him. After a few days, he looks at his parents and calls for them and asks them, "Take my prayer books and read the prayers for a happy death." Smiling at his parents, he looks at them and says, "Goodbye, Papa. Goodbye, Mama. What a beautiful sight I see." And he breathes his last. A beautiful saint for all of us, Saint Dominic Savio. It's inspiring. It's something that we could live up to. Let Saint Dominic Savio pray for all of us. See you next time with Saint Carlos Acutis. Until then, subscribe and be updated. Follow me.